This is our first BGP exercise. We do have a packet tracer file where some of the things we'll be using are configured. For example, we have all of the routers we'll need. We have the links up and running. We have IP addresses configured on interfaces. And the only thing that's missing, or the only two things that are missing, are static routing configuration and BGP. For static routing, the reason why it's needed and where it's needed on these two routers, router 70 and router 80. On router 70, we want to make sure that this router can get out of the autonomous system, so we will configure a default route towards router 700. Why is that needed? It's needed because we will not be configuring BGP on these two routers. So router 70 and router 80 will not have any routing protocols on them, so they will have no way of knowing how to find these other networks. That's why we're going to configure a static route on each one of those. Let's do that right away. Enable configure terminal, IP route, all zeros. Since it's a default route, we want to send all of the traffic this way, and we need the next hop IP address. That's 7000. I think it's 66, but let's check. On router 700, yep, it's 700066. We're going to do the same thing on router 80. Enable configure terminal, IP route, all zeros. And then next hop IP is 800066. Next, we want to configure BGP. Let's look at all the commands we'll use first. So on router 700, we want to start the BGP process by using this command router BGP and then state the autonomous system number. In this case, that's 700. Then we want to list all of the external networks connected to that router. Then we want to configure neighbors. To configure a neighbor, you need to write in that neighbor's IP address and also the autonomous system number in which that neighbor resides. Additionally, on routers 700 and 800, we will want to advertise these internal networks. The reason for that is, again, these two routers will not be using any routing protocols. So in order for the rest of the routers to be able to reach these two networks, we have to somehow tell BGP that these two networks first exist and second, how to reach them. So by having router 700 advertise this network, we are telling the other routers, hey, I know where this network is. If you have any packets destined to that network, send it to me and I'll know what to do with those packets. All right, let's move on with BGP configuration. Then on router 700, we want to say enable configure terminal, and then router BGP 700. Let's start listing the networks. Network 100.0.0.64, mask 255.255.255.252. Next is 100.0.2.0 with mask 255.255.255.252. And then 100.0.1/30. Next, we want to list the neighbors. So neighbor 100.0.1.2 is the IP address of router 800. And then we want to say remote autonomous system, and the autonomous system where that neighbor is number 800. Next neighbor is 100.0.2.2 with remote autonomous system number 1002. Next neighbor is 100.0.0.66 probably, and then that neighbor's autonomous system number is 1001. Last but not least, we want to advertise that internal network. We do that by using this very same command. So I'm going to say 70.0064 mask 255.255.255.252. I'm going to exit the router configuration mode and move on to router 800. On router 800, I'm going to say enable configure terminal router BGP 800. Advertise all the external networks 100.010 mask 255.255.255.252. We then have 100.0.3 with the same mask, and then we have 100.0.4.64 with mask 255.255.255.252. Next, let's advertise the neighbors. So neighbor 100.0.1.1 this time, remote autonomous system 700. We get this informational message right away that pretty much neighborship has been established. And then I want to do the same thing for neighbor 100.0.3.2 in this case, with remote autonomous system number 1002, and then 100.0.4.66, remote autonomous system number 1003. This router also has this internal network that we also want to advertise with network command. So it's going to be network 80.0.0.64 mask 255.255.255.252. And that's it for router 800. Let's move on to router 1001. Enable configure terminal router BGP 1001. Network, we only have one network here. It's 100.0.0.64 mask 255.255.255.252. And we also have one neighbor, 100.0.0.65. Remote autonomous system is 700. And that's it for router 1001. On router 1002, we have two external networks and two neighbors. Enable configure terminal router BGP 1002, network 100.0.2.0 mask 255.255.255.252, and then a similar network to be advertised 100.0.3. Neighbors are 100.0.2.1 with remote autonomous system number 700, and then we have a similar command for autonomous system 800, only the network IP address for the neighbor is 100.0.3.1. And that's it for router 1002. Let's go to router 1003. Enable configure terminal router BGP 1003, network 100.0.4.64 with mask 255.255.255.252 and neighbor 100.0.4.65 with remote autonomous system number 800. That's pretty much it. Let's check our routing table before we try to send some pings. I'm going to say do show IP routes. And we can see all the routes that exist in our topology. That's a good sign. Let's try to ping this router right here. I'm going to say do ping 70.0.0.65 probably. Perfect. So that's working. Let's try from router 80 to router 1001. That should also work. Yep, it's successful. Okay, this exercise was actually basic BGP. Next, we want to learn redistribution, and then after that, we'll be able to do a bit more complex topologies and configure BGP on them. See you in the next lesson.